Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another episode of Plague Inc. I'm gonna try to move real fast here because you will notice I have a new symbol here on bacteria, and that is because I was able to look up a walkthrough online, which you can of course search yourself, to beat bacteria on Mega Brutal. So they chose a somewhat different strategy than what I am, and it makes me wonder if I'm too stuck in my ways, and have played very stuck in my ways in this series. They chose ATP boost to get bonus DNA, genetic mimic to make it harder to cure, aquasite, which makes a little bit of sense, extremophile, and symptostasis, which is the biggest thing. It makes it easier to cure, but symptom costs don't increase. And it turns out that's kind of important when you're playing Mega Brutal, because genetic drift impacts evolution. Turns out it means that at random the cost in DNA to evolve things goes up and down. Usually up, but that is definitely not being explained. None of this stuff really gets explained. Okay, so I'm not gonna play a whole game here, but his suggestion was to start in China, and I actually did it in Southeast Asia, which changed it a little bit, but we'll do what the instructions say. So you're supposed to get water 1, and then insect 1. And I did everything just in the line. And then, with symptoms being very cheap because the cost doesn't increase, you get nausea, coughing, rash, and then cysts, and then you get anemia, and then you get vomiting, which would be here, pneumonia, which is here, sneezing, which is here, and sweating, which is here, and then hypersensitivity, which is here, and then abscesses, which is here, and then hemophilia, which is here. So it's almost like he just went straight down the line, ignoring insomnia. Once you got all those done, you just get insect 2 and water 2, and that's all he got for transmissions. Then he has you go back to symptoms and get diarrhea, which I believe it would be here, pulmonary edema, which I believe is here, and skin lesions, which I believe is this one. And then he has you, after all those symptoms, come over to abilities finally. Do drug resistance 1, then bacterial resistance 1, 2, and 3. Then he has you do drug resistance 2, which is something I never did in any of my playing. Then genetic hardening 1 and 2. Now it's worth pointing out that at some point, if you start in Southeast Asia like I did, which because I lost on his strategy, I got close, but the Caribbean closed their borders, and thus it was pretty much impossible to win. Anytime an island country closes its land borders and port borders and airports, once there's no way to get it in there, it's close to impossible. You can come over here and try and get all of these all the way to this one, extreme zoonosis. You pretty much have to have extreme zoonosis to get a non-human infection, so it's a desperate attempt. But if you start in Southeast Asia, you are going to need at least 1 cold resistance. I did 2. I did it later on in the game. Right about when, if you get to this point, if you follow the instructions, you get detected. And as soon as you get detected, he goes, alright, do insomnia, do paranoia, do seizures, which I believe is here, and then do insanity, then do paralysis, and then do coma. All all of those make it more difficult to win. And then do necrosis, which starts killing people and makes the dead bodies an infection vector. Also, you can do dysentery, it says optionally, if you want to or not. It will increase the spread, but it will kill people faster, so you kind of have to make your own decision there. At that point, you just need to wait until everybody's infected, if you can get everybody infected. It says you can spend your extra DNA on genetic reshuffles that he did all 3 normally at 40%. And I did one that was about 40, and then when I had enough for another it was again at 40, and then when I had enough DNA for the third one, and it was again close to 40. And that's it. That's the strategy that I used. I'm not gonna play it. Some strange things happened. For the first time ever in my playing of this, it said the President of the United States became ill. Something in my gameplay style triggered this random event that I have never seen before, and I find that a little disconcerting that there might be parts of this game that quite simply I just never saw because just because I never played that way. Anyways, let's get into today's game. That was a long little explanation. We're gonna play Volcanic Ash. Massive volumes of volcanic ash are ejected into the atmosphere from the major volcanic eruptions. The majority of flights worldwide are grounded, changing the way people travel. Does this cloud have a silver lining? Interesting. Interesting and concerning. We're definitely just gonna play on casual. We're not gonna say we're just gonna Volcanic Ash. Volcanic Ash is the name. We're gonna still be rigid. I mean, even if I am playing very rigidly, always doing Southeast Asia, what can I say? It wins. It wins most of the time. If all plane flights are grounded, I think they might be even missing. Well, there's an airplane thing, but I'm not seeing any planes actually flying. Which is the volcanic ash going to make it colder? It should, in theory, but I don't know. I think I might just go with water here. Then speed this up. Eurozone near collapse. The random events on Mega Brutal turn out to be usually beneficiary and happen more often too. So, according to the guide maker, Mega Brutal is a lot more difficult than Brutal, which I'm willing to believe that. 16 DNA is needed for the next bit. Coughing mutated. There we go, water. Now I could try to go with insects, I could go with bird, I could try to go with spend the DNA to get air, just so I can get more infected by water. Is there any benefit? Yeah, I think there probably would still be some benefit to getting air. Even though it's not working on the airplanes. We're gonna have some difficulty. We're gonna have to get lucky to make sure we get all these islands. Now that we cut our pass and actually transmit in half to islands. They have no land borders to begin with. Now they have no air borders, so there's only one of the three ways. New minor disease spreading. 17 DNA for the second air. Volcanic Ash Awareness Day. Raise the profile of the disease volcanic ash. Volcanic ash by itself would kill a lot of people. The UK has begun to work on the cure. That's no good. Let's see, a little bit of that. Start doing some genetic hardening if we can. Trying to use that spacebar, slow this down. 24. Oh, so and when you tap spacebar when it's paused, it toggles back. Interesting. Alright, so hopefully that will slow down the research a little bit. Definitely a different strategy to just realize that in Mega Brittle you have to get those symptoms out, and thus it's a good trade-off to make it easier to cure instead of just sticking with making it always the most difficult to cure as possible. That strategy has never really made itself apparent as a even sometimes valid strategy. To me, it really more feels like half the world is infected, and I've brought out insanity. Indonesia shuts down its airports. That's fine with me. We've got Greenland, we need to get Iceland, the Caribbean, and that is it for actual islands. So I'm not really worried about the countries here that aren't infected. I'm just worried about the other ones. Let's see, rash, sweating. We'll get to necrosis here, since we are killing people probably a little faster and earlier than I normally would. There's the Caribbean. So now we just have the Balkan states, Sweden and Morocco. We're not too concerned about those. 37 for necrosis. I'm not too worried about it though. I think getting necrosis and killing more people will be just fine. We've managed to infect things without the airplanes. Did that have a silver lining? They just increase the number of boat trips so much that infections could cross a lot better? It is an interesting thought to think about whether, I'll go ahead and do that, why not? Whether a boat ride from one country to another country or a plane ride from one country to another country is better for transmitting disease. I think probably a boat ride is better because people get seasick and then wouldn't recognize that they're sick. There's not as much screening procedures going on a boat ride. You're not doing the whole security theater that they do in airports, and because of that, you're not going to be up in front of someone else and be observed. So it could very easily be a situation, become a situation where boat rides would allow more disease things. Plus, boats carry probably more stuff, more water, more food. How much for total organ failure? 39? How much for this? 33. There are no more healthy people, so we could do a genetic reshuffle. Why not? And then 39 for total organ failure. And we can just speed this up since it's been somewhat of a long episode. Talking about how we beat the game on Mega Brutal off screen. There we go for total organ failure. Yeah, volcanic ash didn't seem like it changed anything besides taking the planes out. It didn't seem like it made the planet cooler. It didn't seem like it made people sicker. All of which would actually be the case. Didn't kill the crops, thus causing hunger or anything like that. Didn't kill a bunch of animals. And causing all kinds of corpses to be lying around and spread a disease that way. Volcanic ash would do a lot of stuff, particularly if it was enough that it's going to shut down all the flights over the whole planet. You basically are saying at that point the whole planet is shrouded in darkness 24/7. Anyways, that's 424 days for a complex virus. The cure only got to 20%. We got 71,612 and 3 biohazards. Is that our first 3 biohazards? Let's see. Yeah. That's our first 3 biohazards on casual. I assume that if we played it on a more difficult level, we would get different symbols. And whatever scenarios completed, 14% complete. I have no idea what they mean by that. I mean, I suppose... Where are we? When I select volcanic ash, it does seem like it wants you to play all of these scenarios by every single type of virus. No, we're not gonna do that. That's, to me, feels way too much like just padding the game out and stretching it out. Sure, I might do this over the course of a year or two and come back and say, hey, let's try that scenario on this, or try that scenario on this. But notice you've to the power of 3 made so many different variants here. Play bacteria on, even if you started on Mega Brutal, play bacteria on Mega Brutal, get 3 stars. We don't even know how to get 3 stars particularly. It's just some scoring system that's like most scoring systems, not explained. So we'd have to play every single one of these on Mega Brutal for every single scenario that allowed us to pick. Some of them didn't allow us to pick. And so it's saying we're at 14%. No, not by my count. By my count, we have 2 more scenarios to play, and that's enough for me. These aren't even that varied. They're not that interesting that, at least half of them, I mean, they're not that interesting that you'd want to come play them more than once. And on top of that, we still got the standard thing. We we are high into the episode count. I think probably somewhere around the 70s or 80s. So we played this game 70 or 80 times at least. That's really high for as repetitive this game is. Anyways, well, we didn't unlock anything because there's really nothing left to unlock, which is good news. Next time we're going to try Virus on Mega Brutal. I'm going to look up a guide in the first place this time so that we have a better chance of winning. We're hoping if we do Bacteria, Virus, and Fungus on Mega Brutal, it will unlock the last cheats and we don't have to play all the others. But that's for next episode. We're done with this episode. Sorry if it went long. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps me out. If you want to support me, click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. If you want to follow or friend me on practically any social media site, all that information is down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.